As is proven by the mountains of horror-themed media that gets purchased each and every year, we as a society can't seem to get enough of scaring ourselves silly, and the video game industry has been more than capable of catering to our wants and needs. Even taking a cursory glance over at the PC horror section on Steam will provide you with enough spooks, scares and spectres to keep you well fed for ages. But it has come with a bit of a cost, for while it's never been easier to get your horror title to market and in front of prospective customers, generating hype and standing out has never been harder. And while we're all aware of the new Resident Evil Village game and what is likely going to be another pachinko machine featuring Silent Hill, today I wanted to give some Lovecraftian love to those titles which otherwise might just pass us by. Our wallets and sleep patterns might thank us, but who are we to defy filling your lives with even more dread and horror? So with this in mind, I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 upcoming horror video games you've been sleeping on. Number 10, System Shock Remaster. If you're a fan of the BioShock series, and why wouldn't you be, then you owe it to yourself to not only check out the glorious forebearer of fear and the direct inspiration for the seafaring series System Shock, but also its remaster that is coming out very soon. Awakening on a space station that has been completely overrun by rogue AI known as Shodan, you must take the fight to this glorified haywire toaster, all the while exploring the horrifying corners of the once thriving installation, all the while avoiding all of the mutated inhabitants and other rogue AI killing machines. From start to finish, the tension that permeates each moment of this game is high, as you scavenge and salvage anything you can in order to gain the upper hand. And of course, you're teased and cajoled all the way by the relentless and superior tones of Shodan. It's been a long old while in the healing pods for fans looking for another taste of System Shock, but this remaster seems to be doing everything in its power to remain honest to the original while making it look like a true next-gen contender. Number 9, Mortal Shell. While some people out there might not class Dark Souls as a true out-and-out horror game, I know for a fact that the overall gothic tones and sheer brutality have made me squeal much in the same way that the Xenomorph did in Alien Isolation. So forgive an old man for expanding the definition slightly, and let me tell you why Mortal Shell is going to get you all very hard indeed when it drops in 2021. Now on the surface, this might just look like another Dark Souls clone in that it has big, beefy combat, brutal enemies, and boss fights coming out the back door. However, the moment that you actually play this game is the moment that you realize that they couldn't be further apart. Here, Mortal Shell offers you the chance to harden into stone to tank incoming attacks, which then allow you to launch your own counterattacks and even stun enemies as they bounce off your sheer heft. This, coupled with a brilliant body switching mechanic and of course super oppressive tones, means that it's another bleak and life-draining game which will likely cause us much happiness and offer great reward for taking down the horrible enemies within. Kind of ironic that, really. Number 8, Spookware. As if proving that not all horror video games need to be scary to be worth taking note of, Spookware is basically what would happen if you crossed WarioWare with, well, spooky times. It's an incredibly brief affair, but one that developer Paper Cookie should be immensely proud of, as this collection of minigames is so well thought out and ludicrously entertaining that I'm sure people would be very keen to get an expansive version. From finding Nosferatu in the dark to trying to shoot the heads off zombie plants to finding pages hidden in a wood all under 30 seconds a time, Spookware is a mile-a-minute experience. Requiring only the directional buttons and fingers of bloody steel, Spookware manages to provide laughs and occasional hair-raising moments, especially in the final game, which makes it perfect in delivering on its intentions. And you know the best part? That at the time of recording, this game is just about to be published, so it may well indeed already be out and ready for you to try. Number 7, Scorn. Scorn is a title that wears its inspirations clearly on its rather disgusting gore-soaked sleeve, as the fingerprints of H.R. Geiger's artwork can be found in every motion and design of this title. This is no bad thing, however, as drawing directly from the grandfather of biotech horror is always going to result in something that's immediately striking and horribly transfixing. Scorn absolutely stunned audiences with its announcement trailer, which showcased a world so rich with dread and genuinely disturbing images. images, but it finally cemented what it actually was with a recent gameplay slice trailer, which posits the title as an FPS horror-infused puzzle solver that looks to challenge the player at every turn. The thought that's gone into making every aspect of the world both living and mechanical means that players will never feel safe whilst traversing one of the many pulsating corridors, as enemies can and will erupt from flesh pods that hang from the ceiling or be birthed out of the walls. Ugh, gross. In short, Scorn is definitely one to watch, although you might want to shower after playing it. Number 6. World of Horror. If you've not heard of or read any of the horror stories by Junji Ito, then I truly recommend that you take the time to do so, as his art, combined with some of the most out-there horror ideas that I've ever seen, make for an experience that will genuinely leave you in a state of unease for hours, if not days after. And it's this surgical level of provoking unease that makes up the experience of World of Horror, a new title that's in early access at the time of recording. Now, on paper, it sounds like it would be an absolute mess, because it's a one-bit horror game that fuses turn-based combat with a branching choice system, Tiger Woods-style golf power-up meter attacks, and deck building that allows you to shape your adventure in different ways. And yet, it totally works, managing to truly deliver on its unique premise while also providing a ton of creepy low-resolution scares. It is a faithful adaptation of old-school adventure games, and thanks to randomized item placement and enemy locations, it's not just going to be a trial-and-error experience. You will want to play through this multiple times, as it's just so utterly original that it begs to be explored. Plus, that old-school aesthetic, chef kiss. Number 5. Signalis. In the indie horror market, gloomy mansion walking simulators are 10 a penny, each trying to ride the coattails of previous success stories like PT or Visage, which is why it's so utterly refreshing to come across Signalis, a survival horror game with not only a completely different aesthetic, but also one that seems to be doing something very interesting with its gameplay and presentation of fear. Elster, the game's protagonist, is on the hunt for her own dreams, which have been mysteriously stolen from her. However, after diving down into a dystopian future hellscape, it appears that all she's going to be finding are nightmares. The top-down style might give off the impression of a more action arcade experience, but this couldn't be further from the truth, as the enemies shown in this game are resilient, relentless, and clearly just the tip of the iceberg. From the stills and promotional material, Signalis seems to be reaching further than just mere shock and gore, and instead presenting a case about what it means to actually be human, of what we'll do to survive, and maybe what we're prepared to do to keep secrets to ourselves. Number 4. Sons of the Forest. While you might be content to know that a sequel to the outstanding horror game The Forest is coming out and just put your feet up for 4 years, seeing as the original was in early access for that long, Sons of the Forest does appear to be moving towards a release date much sooner than that. And to be honest, I'm both excited and terrified at this prospect, for while the original was a truly tense and atmospheric game, which this too looks to emulate, I really don't want to experience some of this alone in the dark wood horror again, because I've barely only just recovered from the first trip around the sun. With enemy designs that look genuinely haunting and others that look arousing, it's a succubus, don't worry, it's okay. There's a true level of intrigue as to what Sons of the Forest is cooking up for us. However, it's a safe bet that things aren't going to be all nature walks and bird watching. Well, unless the succubus is back again. Number 3. Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. If you're a fan of Left 4 Dead, then you owe it to yourself to play either of the phenomenal Warhammer Vermintide titles by Fat Shark Studios, as each one provides a tense and exhilarating experience that simply comes alive when you're playing with friends online. And so when Fat Shark announced recently that they were continuing their partnership with Games Workshop and moving the setting from the fantasy realm of magic and medieval warfare to the far-flung and grimdark realm of 40k, a lot of heads began to turn. You see, 40k is pretty much drenched in gothic horror, where even the tamest of days alive in this universe are of pain and suffering. And when you choose to set your story around a group of wounded and beaten Imperial Guard who are tasked with taking on the hordes of undead monstrosities who have pledged allegiance to Nurgle, well, it's not going to be a picnic. If you've ever played through the nightmarish Space Hulk titles, imagine this crossed with Left 4 Dead and some outstanding graphics, and you're getting close to what Darktide looks to offer players very soon. Number 2. Conscript. There's very little scarier than the thought of what our forefathers and families went through during the First and Second World War. The very idea that humanity was brought to the brink twice is deeply disturbing, and is only equaled by the sheer horror of what that experience did to hundreds of thousands of people. Therefore, of course, any horror game that uses this setting as a backdrop is automatically going to carry with it a terrible sense of dread, and Conscript looks to have this in spades. Set during the First World War, Conscript sees you in the role of a French soldier, isolated from his regiment and now with just one mission: to survive. Now, this survival horror takes the well-known tropes such as limited resources and overwhelming enemy forces and further challenges the player with puzzle solving and desperate firefights. However, Catchweight Studios weren't content with just this, and so of course, supernatural elements infest the world, which, if this early footage is anything to go by, will add yet another terrifying layer of fear on top. Sign me up. And number 1, Insound Mind. When the setting of your horror game is the internal terrors that we inflict on ourselves from within our own minds, you know that there's going to be some truly unforgettable moments ahead. And Insound Mind states clearly from the off that you will face your greatest fears again and again. Thanks to an experimental chemical that's drifting through your veins, the world around you shifts and warps to become almost sentient, preying on your fears at every turn. This, coupled with a heavy focus on puzzle solving and action set pieces, means that Insound Mind will likely have something for everyone. However, it's the surreal humour that seems to be capturing a lot of attention, as not only is your protagonist as quick with a one-liner as he is with a pistol, there also seems to be talking cats, self-aware mannequins, and a can't really believe what's going on here tone to the whole affair. However, all this does is pique our interest even more. And yes, as if you needed any more reason, the developers clearly stated themselves, yes, you can indeed pet the cat. So that's an instant purchase then. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 upcoming horror video games that you've been sleeping on. I hope you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below, as well as any other choices that you would have had for your own personal list of upcoming horror games, because I'd love to see them. If you want to chat to me further about horror games, video games, film, TV, or anything else, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice. It's my personal gaming channel where I stream every Wednesday and Sunday. But before I go, my friends, I just want to say one thing. We detailed today a lot about horror video games that are upcoming that will likely cause us a few sleepless nights. But I just want to take that and address something in our own personal lives right now, because you, my friend, you are not the boogeyman of your own life. You deserve love, happiness, and success. So please don't beat yourself up or keep yourself up at night thinking about mistakes of your past. We all make them. It is okay to move forward, and as long as you're focusing on building bridges instead of burning them in the future, and realizing that you are a good person that deserves love, affection, and success, then you will go on to live a healthier and happier life. You are not alone. I wish nothing but the best for you, so go out there and smash it, you big ledge. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.